My fiancé declared, "Your family is always in our way. Choose me or them." I replied, "Done." Then I chose my family and sent her a bill for her share of wedding costs. She was frantically emailing my work and family, claiming I misunderstood her ultimatum. I should have noticed the signs sooner. My name's Nathan. I'm 32 years old, living in Chicago, working as a robotics engineer. I've always been a detail guy, gears, sensors, code, all the tiny parts that make big things work. But when it came to Camille, I missed a few important signals. We'd been together 4 years, engaged for nearly 8 months. The wedding was set for October, leaves just starting to turn, cool air and candlelight, her dream setup. Most of it was already paid for. By me. We'd agreed she'd cover half. Not right away, but eventually. I trusted her. I thought that's what couples did. Lately, though, things had started to shift. It all began the weekend Julian, my younger brother, became a dad. I was there the day his daughter was born. She came out squalling and red-faced and perfect. And suddenly Julian, the guy who used to shotgun beers at tailgates, was someone's father. That shook me a little, in a good way. Made me feel something I hadn't expected. Proud. And maybe ready. Someday, at least. Julian and his wife, Monica, named the baby Grace. My whole family started spending time at my parents' lake house in Wisconsin every Saturday to see her. Just small get-togethers, burgers on the grill, lawn chairs, my dad telling the same jokes. Camille came once or twice in the beginning, then stopped. "I've got too much going on," she'd say. Design meetings, deadlines, calls. I believed her at first, but she always had time for brunch with her girlfriends or to help her cousin pick out new countertops. Then came the comments. "Another lake house thing?" she said one morning, frowning over her coffee. "Your family's obsessed. Like Julian's the first guy to ever make a baby." I raised an eyebrow. "It's their first grandchild." She rolled her eyes. "Yeah. And Monica talks like she invented motherhood. Have you heard her go on? It's insufferable." I didn't say anything, but I felt something twist in my chest. The next weekend, Camille was sitting on the couch, flipping through a catalog, when I mentioned my mom wanted to know if we'd bring dessert. Camille didn't even look up. "Let me guess," she said. "Something cute and themed? Like little pink cupcakes with baby rattles on top." Her tone was sharp, not joking. I tried to defuse it. "She's just excited," I said. "It's been a big year. For them," she muttered. A couple days later, we were folding laundry, and I told her Julian had sent a picture of Grace in this tiny bear onesie. Camille didn't smile, didn't even glance at the photo I showed her. Instead, she said, "It's like your family's become this weird cult." I laughed, nervously. "You're exaggerating." She looked right at me then. "Am I? Or are you just too close to them to see it?" That stuck with me, not because I thought she was right, but because of how she said it, like it was something she'd been holding back for a long time. And from that point on, every conversation felt like a subtle battle. A jab here, an eye roll there. She hated how often I saw my parents, thought my closeness with Julian was immature, said things like boundaries and codependence like they were dirty words. The worst part, I started to feel guilty for loving my family, like I had to apologize for it. That's when I realized something was breaking. Maybe it had been for a while. I just hadn't been willing to see it. It was a Saturday in late July, warm but breezy, the kind of day that made the lake shimmer like glass. My parents were hosting a casual cookout at the house in Wisconsin. Nothing fancy, just burgers, chips, cold drinks, and Grace toddling around in her watermelon print dress while everyone took turns chasing her. Camille had stayed behind. "I'm exhausted," she'd said that morning, rubbing her temples like she had a migraine. "Go without me. Seriously, I need a day to myself." I didn't argue. I thought maybe a little space would help, but I was wrong. When I got home that night, she was curled up on the couch, blanket around her shoulders, laptop open but idle. She didn't ask how it went. I sat beside her, careful. "You know," I said slowly, "I think once we have kids, you and Monica might actually get along better. You'd have more to relate to." Her head turned so fast I barely saw it coming. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" I blinked. I didn't mean it like that. I just meant." She cut me off, her voice rising fast. "So now I'm emotionally barren? That it? Just because I'm not gushing over baby photos and wiping drool, doesn't mean I'm broken?" "Nathan." I sat there stunned. "I never said that," I said quietly. "You're twisting my words. You're twisting yourself into a pretzel for those people." she snapped. Every week it's more stories about Grace, more family time, more bonding with your creepy little club of suburban Stepford relatives. Jesus, Camille, I started, but she was already on her feet. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of feeling like a guest in your life. Like there's this whole second marriage happening between you and your damn family, and I'm just the inconvenience you drag along. She was pacing now, arms crossed tightly, eyes burning. Let me guess, she said bitterly, your mom wants us to move closer to them next. Maybe build a little in-law suite in their backyard so they can drop by with meatloaf every Tuesday. I didn't answer. What could I say? My stomach felt like it was full of cement. Camille stopped in front of me, breathing hard. You need to choose, Nathan. Them or me. Because I'm done competing with your mother and your brother and their perfect little golden child. I stared at her for a long moment, and then, weirdly, I felt calm. Not angry, not hurt, just calm. Like someone had wiped fog off a mirror and I could finally see clearly. Okay, I said. Her face twitched. Okay, if that's how you see it, I said evenly, then it's you and me that's over. She blinked, laughed nervously. Wait, what? You said I had to choose. I'm choosing. She stood there like I'd just spoken another language. You're not even going to fight for me? She asked, voice cracking. You're just giving up? I'm not giving up, I said. I'm letting go. There's a difference. The silence that followed was deafening. She looked like she expected me to run after her, to apologize, to beg. But I didn't. I just stood up, walked to the kitchen, and started pouring myself a glass of water. My hands were steady. My heart was quiet. That was the moment I knew I was doing the right thing. I left the next morning with an overnight bag and drove straight to my parents' place. I didn't even call first. I just showed up. My mom opened the door in her robe, hair still damp from a shower. Nathan? I stepped inside and closed the door behind me. I didn't say anything for a second. Then the words just spilled out. It's over. Me and Camille. She blinked, confused. Wait, what? What happened? I shook my head. She gave me an ultimatum. Her or you guys. I chose you. My mom's hand flew to her chest. Oh my God. My dad was in the kitchen, coffee mug halfway to his lips. He froze when he heard that. She said what? I told them everything. Not just the fight, the way she rolled her eyes when Julian sent baby pictures. The things she said about Monica. How she couldn't stand the idea of being part of a close family. She's been checked out for months, I said. This was just the final shove. My mom sat down slowly on the couch, staring at the floor. My dad, on the other hand, looked like he was ready to throw a chair through a wall. I knew it, he muttered. I knew something was off about her. Julian and Monica came by that afternoon. When I told them, Julian didn't say anything for a long time. Just nodded slowly. Sorry, man, he said at last. You deserve better. That night, my phone started blowing up. First a text. Camille, can we talk? Then another. Camille, you can't just walk away like this. This isn't you. I didn't respond. After that, the tone changed fast. Camille, so you're seriously ghosting me? After everything? Camille, wow. Coward. Camille, hope your mommy's proud. Hope Julian throws you a parade. I turned my phone off. The next morning, I sat down at my laptop and started calling vendors. Caterer, photographer, band, florist, everyone. The venue deposit? Gone. The DJ fee? Non-refundable. Custom signage? Already printed. I made a list. Totaled the costs. $10,250. By Monday, I was back in my apartment, clearing out the last of her stuff, what little she hadn't taken already. Her makeup bag, a couple shoes, some yoga DVDs. I tossed them into a box and taped it shut. Then I wrote the email. Subject, wedding cancellation and financial reimbursement. Camille, attached is an itemized list of our wedding expenses. As discussed prior to engagement, costs were to be split evenly. Your share comes to $10,250. Please remit payment within 14 days. If I do not receive payment or a plan in writing by then, I will be pursuing legal action in small claims court. Nathan. I hit send. Then I attached the invoice as a PDF and sent it again from a backup email, just in case. No flowery words. No emotion. Just facts. That evening, she called 3 times. I didn't answer. Then came another flood of texts. Guilt, rage, accusations. Camille, this is insane. You're seriously sending me a bill. Camille, you're not getting a cent. Camille, I can't believe you're doing this. I loved you. I turned my phone face down on the table and walked outside. The air was crisp, clean. The kind of air you breathe when something heavy finally lifts off your chest. For the first time in months, maybe longer, I felt like I was in control again. Not angry. Not bitter. Just done. By Wednesday, Camille wasn't the only one blowing up my phone. It started with her sister, Darla. A short message at first. Darla, I heard you sent Camille a bill. Seriously. Then a longer one. Darla, she's devastated, Nathan. Absolutely shattered. You're treating her like a business transaction? Where's your heart? I didn't respond. Next came Camille's mom, Eloise, calling my parents' landline twice in one afternoon. My mom let it go to voicemail the first time. The second time she picked up, she accused me of raising a cold, transactional man, my mom said afterward, still holding the phone like it might bite her. Said you humiliated Camille and that she's barely eating. My dad muttered something about blocking the number and took the phone from her. Friday night, things hit a new level. Darla DM'd Monica. I was in Julian's living room when Monica showed me her phone. She sent me this, she said, flipping the screen to me. It was a long, rambling message calling Monica a condescending step-forward wife, accusing her of poisoning my relationship and ending with, you and that smug baby of yours need to get over yourselves. Julian let out a low whistle. Wow, that's a bold move. And guess what? Monica added. She also tagged me in a passive-aggressive quote post an hour later. Real women support other women. Like I don't see it? The Real kicker came the next day. Apparently, Darla had shown up at my dad's tennis club. Yes, actually showed up. He was halfway through a doubles match when she cornered him by the water cooler. She stormed up like a lawyer in a courtroom, he said that night, fuming. Told me Camille was being emotionally abused and that we raised you to be a toxic man-baby. I told her to leave before I called security. Staff had to escort her out. I shook my head. She's unhinged. It's not just her, Julian said. Mutuals are starting to reach out to me. People from the wedding list. Friends of hers. They're hearing a different version of the story. My stomach sank. What version? That you blindsided her. That you canceled everything out of nowhere and sent her a legal threat for no reason. That night, I checked my social media. Sure enough, Camille had started posting vague, poetic heartbreak captions. Healing isn't linear. Some people never loved you, they just loved the way you loved them. Being the bigger person gets exhausting. I recognized the tone. It was all for attention. All carefully curated to make her look like a soft-hearted victim crushed by my cruelty. Then Darla took it further. She posted a photo of Camille in her bathrobe, eyes red and puffy, with the caption, "Heartbreak looks like this. He knows what he did." In the comments, people started speculating. OMG, who would hurt her like this? Men are trash. Name and shame him already. My name wasn't in the post, but it didn't need to be. Anyone who knew us knew. I spent the rest of that weekend sending screenshots. Voice notes. The invoice agreement Camille signed in January. Emails confirming she'd pay her half. I messaged mutuals kind but firm and told them what really happened. I didn't trash her. I didn't stoop to name calling. I just laid out the facts. One by one, people stopped responding. Some apologized. Most didn't. But the smear campaign started to lose steam. By Sunday night, I got a DM from someone I barely knew, one of Camille's former coworkers. "Hey, I just want to say, I believe you. She pulled the same thing with her ex before you." I stared at the message for a long time, then closed the app. The truth was out now. And even if not everyone believed it, enough did. Camille could keep crying into her Instagram filter. But me? I was done playing the villain in someone else's story. Monday morning came. 14 days, no payment. Camille hadn't even acknowledged the invoice directly. Just kept cycling through insults, emotional jabs, and the occasional, "Can we please be adults?" message like I hadn't already tried that route. So I filed. Small claims court, Cook County. I added the court fee to the total, an extra $180. The process was simple. Tedious, but simple. I attached documentation, receipts, the invoice, email threads, and a screenshot of her January reply that said, "Totally fair. We'll settle up after the wedding, no stress." The next day, I got the first real response. She emailed my work address. Not my personal email, not my phone, my company inbox. The subject line was, "Please read this, it's important." Inside was a wall of text, starting with, "I know you hate me," and spiraling into a long, winding monologue about broken dreams, how pressure broke her down, how she never wanted things to go this far. She closed with, "I'm still grieving what we lost. I know you are too." I read it twice. Not because I was moved, but because I couldn't believe she thought this would work after everything. I didn't reply. 2 hours later, my boss called me into his office. Apparently, Camille's mother had sent an email to our HR department claiming I was emotionally unstable and possibly harassing Camille through legal threats. She even attached a screenshot of the invoice, highlighted as if it were some kind of bombshell. My manager, Jason, just handed me a printout of the email and said, "This came in. We're not worried, but figured you should know." HR reviewed it, saw the court documents, and immediately dismissed it as personal business being dragged across professional lines. The file went straight to archive. Jason patted my shoulder on the way out and said, "Next time you date someone like that, send me a warning text." I almost laughed. On Wednesday, I got a letter from Camille's lawyer. Well, lawyer might be generous. The letter came from a one-man operation in a strip mall near Joliet. It was a settlement offer, $2,000. No admission of guilt. In exchange, I would drop the case, sign a non-disparagement agreement, and issue a written apology for the emotional distress caused. I read the letter over my lunch break and shook my head. I didn't respond right away. I waited until the next morning, then had my attorney send back a formal reply, offer declined. Demand remains in full. See court date. Camille must have read it within minutes because 5 minutes later I got a new text. Camille, I can't believe you're really doing this. You're disgusting. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and got back to work. The line had been drawn. She wanted chaos. I wanted closure. And I was getting it. Legally, permanently, and without saying another word. It was a Thursday evening when the voicemail came in. I didn't recognize the number, but something made me play it anyway. Hi Nathan, this is I'm Camille's aunt, Denise. I know we haven't met. I got your number from Eloise. Please don't hang up. I just wanted to ask you to reconsider. Camille's not doing well. She hasn't eaten in days. She's not sleeping. She says she's never been this low. I know things got messy, but please don't take this to court. Isn't there still a chance to fix it quietly? You were good together, weren't you? I sat in silence for a long time, phone still in my hand. Not because I was reconsidering, but because for a second I remembered Camille on our first date, laughing over her wine, showing me photos of furniture she'd designed. I remembered her barefoot in the kitchen, dancing to Fleetwood Mac on Sunday mornings. But that wasn't who she was anymore. Or maybe the version had never been real to begin with. I called my mom later that night, told her about the voicemail. She hasn't eaten in days, my mom repeated, skeptical. Funny, because Denise told your Aunt Maureen that Camille just booked a full weekend at some luxury spa in Lake Geneva. She said she needed a healing getaway, the one with champagne facials and hot stone massages. I raised an eyebrow. Wait, she said that to Maureen? Yeah, she mentioned it in passing. Said Camille was splurging to get back to herself. Doesn't sound that financially devastated to me. I grabbed my notebook and jotted it down. Spa, Lake Geneva, lavish recovery. Thanks, Mom, I said. You're not backing down, are you? Not a chance. She paused for a moment, then said something that stuck with me. I'm proud of you, Nathan. Not for breaking up with her. For holding your ground. The next day, I added the spa detail to my court prep folder. Date, location, estimated cost based on the resort's website. Just in case Camille tried to play the I'm too broke to pay card in court. It was a quiet kind of satisfaction. Not gloating. Just clarity. She wanted to frame this as heartbreak. I was framing it as reality. And the paperwork didn't lie. The court date fell on a rainy Tuesday morning in late August. Downtown Chicago was a grid of wet pavement and umbrellas. I got there early, dark suit, tie straight, every document triple-checked and tabbed in a neat binder. Camille walked in 5 minutes before the hearing, her mother right beside her like a bodyguard. Camille looked rough, not in a tragic way, just unpolished. Like she wanted people to think she'd barely slept. Hair in a messy bun, no makeup, oversized cardigan. Eloise looked furious on her behalf, tight-lipped and glaring like I'd shown up to court with a chainsaw. We didn't speak. We didn't even nod at each other. But Camille looked me over, my calmness, my binder, my tie, and I could see something flicker behind her eyes. Maybe she expected me to flinch, to lose my nerve. Didn't happen. The clerk called our case. We stepped up. The courtroom was quiet, just the judge, a bailiff, a few scattered spectators. Camille's lawyer was a man in his 50s with coffee stains on his tie and a file that looked barely touched. The judge, a woman with gray hair in a no-nonsense bun, scanned our papers for a moment, then spoke. This is a reimbursement dispute regarding canceled wedding expenses? Yes, Your Honor, I said clearly. The wedding was called off after Ms. Parson terminated the engagement. I am seeking half of the shared expenses per our agreement. Camille's lawyer jumped in. Your Honor, my client disputes the necessity of repayment. She believes Mr. Lang acted unilaterally, canceling the wedding out of spite, and that emotional distress is involved here. The judge held up a hand. We'll stick to documented costs. Mr. Lang, do you have a breakdown of expenses and confirmation of shared responsibility? I opened my binder and handed over a copy. Here's the itemized list, totaling $20,500. All vendors were booked jointly. Camille agreed in writing to cover her half. Here's the email from January confirming that. The judge took it, read silently for a few moments, then turned to Camille. Ms. Parson, did you agree to split costs? Camille shifted in her seat. Yes, but that was before he blindsided me with a breakup. He chose to cancel everything. I didn't ask him to. I spoke calmly. Your Honor, she gave me an ultimatum. Her or my family. I made a choice based on that. The breakup didn't happen in a vacuum. The judge turned back to Camille. Is that true? Did you ask him to choose between you and his family? Camille flushed. I was emotional. People say things in arguments. That's not what I asked. Eloise leaned in, whispering something to her, but the judge shut that down fast. No coaching, please. Ms. Parson. Camille looked down. Yes, I said it. The judge nodded, then looked back to me. You mentioned additional documentation? I flipped to the final tab and handed it over. This is confirmation that Ms. Parson booked a luxury spa getaway 2 weeks ago. Total cost, approximately $1,800. I present this only because she previously claimed she couldn't afford to pay me back. The judge raised an eyebrow. Is this accurate? Camille didn't speak. Eloise muttered that was a gift from her sister. The judge cut her off. Unless her sister is here to testify, I'll ask for no interruptions. Camille's lawyer looked deflated. He glanced at her, then quietly said, we have no further evidence. The judge took a long pause, then looked up. Based on the agreement in writing, the shared booking history, and the lack of any valid defense, I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiff. Ms. Parson is to pay $10,250 to Mr. Lang, plus court costs totaling $185. Payment due within 30 days. Camille's face crumpled. She didn't cry the way you do when you lose someone. She cried the way you do when you finally realize a lie won't stick. Her hands shook as she wiped at her face, mumbling something I couldn't hear. Eloise opened her mouth to object, but the judge's voice came hard and final. Sit down, ma'am. We're done here. And just like that, it was over. I gathered my binder, nodded once, politely, and walked out into the rain with dry eyes and a steady breath. Justice wasn't loud. It was quiet, calm, clear. Camille didn't appeal. Not formally, anyway. She posted cryptic captions about forgiving people who never said sorry and grieving alone while others celebrate their revenge. But the payment hit my account on day 28, right under the wire. No apology. Just a cold PayPal transfer with the memo per court order. I took a screenshot, filed it away, and blocked her on everything. I also blocked her mother, her sister, and the 3 mutual friends who'd liked her courtroom pity post. That part was almost therapeutic. A clean sweep. Quiet digital exits, no announcements. The truth had done its job. Mutual friends who kept their distance during the chaos went silent. Not out of guilt, out of realization. No more DMs asking what really happened. No vague group chat tension. Just stillness. And it felt good. Julian invited me over that Friday. We're doing a little dinner, he said. Just family. Nothing fancy. I showed up with a bottle of wine and a homemade chocolate tart Monica had been craving. My parents were already there, my dad on the grill, my mom setting the table on the back deck. Grace was waddling around the yard in a sparkly unicorn dress, clutching a soggy teddy bear. It was the most peace I'd felt in months. After dinner, Julian disappeared for a minute and came back holding something behind his back. Grace made you something, he said, kneeling beside her. She toddled over and thrust a framed sheet of paper into my hands. Crayon drawing, bright colors, toddler squiggles everywhere. In the middle was a stick figure holding a smiling baby. Scrawled in red crayon, Uncle Nathan is awesome. I felt something shift in my chest. Not sadness, not triumph, just relief. You okay? Monica asked quietly, sitting beside me on the patio bench. I nodded. Yeah, I think I am. I didn't feel vengeful. I didn't feel smug. I wasn't picturing Camille reading my name on a bank statement and seething. I just felt finished, like someone who finally set down a heavy backpack they forgot they were carrying. Later that night, Julian clinked his glass and said, to clean slates. And better dinners. We all laughed. Grace threw a piece of chicken nugget in celebration. And I just sat there, surrounded by the people who'd never made me choose between love and loyalty. People who didn't measure my worth by how much I gave, but by how much I showed up. The wedding didn't happen, but something better did. Peace. Boundaries. A family that didn't ask me to shrink to make space. I'd made the right choice. And this time I didn't need anyone else to confirm it.